Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Italian Trade Agency, moderated by Michael Wayland.
Hello everybody. Expect the unexpected. That's actually a great video to kind of get us off on this panel. My name's Michael Wayland. I am the autos reporter for CNBC.com. And today we'll be discussing the connection and importance between the US and Canada, as well as the public and private sectors in the rapidly changing automotive industry. And as that video showed, a lot of that is what the auto industry is working on right now. Being more green, being more tech focused, and that's a lot of what we're going to be discussing today with our great panel. I'd first like to thank everyone who's here at Motor-Bella, as well as everyone streaming online. And I'd also like to thank Mother Nature for ending the rain here in Metro Detroit so we could actually have this panel, which was initially scheduled earlier in the week. And then also, of course, I'd like to thank the Italian Trade Agency out of its Chicago office, which is sponsoring this panel, as well as Automobili-D. The Italian Trade Agency is tasked with supporting the international business development of Italian companies and promoting the attraction of foreign investment in Italy. They're here in the US to assist US companies with finding Italian counterparts of their respective automotive needs in terms of the latest solutions and technologies. I have been able to actually go to Italy and cover the automotive industry. I went to Fiat Chrysler's headquarters, I've been to Ferrari. However, I do not speak Italian, and I might be the only one on the panel who does not. So please excuse me for that. But let's get the panel started. We're gonna start with our remote guest, Simona Nori of Stanford University. Please,
Hi.
Yes, please just give a brief introduction on yourself and how you relate to the Italian auto industry and here in the US.
Yes, sure. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here. And I would like to thank the Italian Trade Agency for inviting me today. I'm an assistant professor at Stanford University, working in the energy resources engineering. And I graduated from Italy and from University of Rome Tor Vergata. And then I moved to the United States to work on automotive engineering. First, I was at Ohio State. And then I moved to Clemson University in South Carolina, and now I'm here in California. And in all those places, I've been fortunate to work on. I tackle questions related to automotive control, automotive engineering, and the opportunity to work with brilliant Italian students from Italy, and as well as great colleagues here in the US. So I currently work on electrification in transportation. And so and some of my students are from Italy, a postdoc from Milano, and another student from Torino. So yeah.
That's great. And electrification is obviously a huge part of what's going on in the industry right now. Automakers are spending billions upon billions of dollars to kind of transition to a more green and more electric future. So look forward to talking about that a little bit later. Thank you, Simona. Next, we're going to go to Saeed Nassar from Oakland University.
Yeah, I'm Saeed Nassar, and I'm a professor of mechanical engineering at Oakland University. And before Oakland University, for the past 20 years, I was previously at Lawrence Tech for another 15, 17 years. And prior to that, I was in industry, in the nuclear power industry in the area of structural analysis back in the mid-80s, something like that. My area of expertise is in the mechanical design area with focus on automotive applications and research. I head a research lab on material fastening and joining. And also, we recently got award from the NSF for an IUCRC, which is Industry University Cooperative Research Center for composite and hybrid material interfacing, which is a code word for joining of materials. In partnership with Georgia Tech, we'll have a site on with a thrust in aerospace, and a third site at the University of Tennessee with thrust area in infrastructures. I am here today to share with you also some of my collaboration with my colleagues in Italy, in Torino, at Politecnico di Torino. And as we speak now, I have 4 students in my lab from Italy, and they come mainly from Polito and Torino, and some from Napoli, University of Napoli in South Italy. So that's basically what I do.
Great, thank you, Saeed. And last but not least, we have Giuseppe Santiago, and he's with Skypersonic and Wayne State University, and he's also got a few brief videos for us as well.
Thank you, William. So my name is Giuseppe Santangelo. I'm the founder and CEO of Skypersonic Inc., which is a company, local company in Michigan. Now it's a NASDAQ public traded under the name of Red Cat Holdings. And I work in the United States from 10 years, more or less, before I was in Italy, leading a corporation there that was working in the automotive market. So I'm the possibility to see the two relationship between the two countries, Italy and United States, because I'm citizen here, but I come from Italy. So that helps a lot in knowing and knowing the two business culture. My company, please can we start the video? I brought a small video to show about our technology. Skypersonic is a company that produces UAV drones for industrial application, mainly for OEM, but also for all the places that are really completely impossible to inspect. So we produce a drone that is called Skycopter. And also we have a technology able to pilot any units, any drones from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world. We call Fly Anywhere technology. We just signed a partnership with the Municipality of Torino as a partner with Leonardo company in Torino, and we are able to collaborate together between Torino and Detroit by flying drones between the ocean. So we have pilots in the United States that are flying units in Italy and vice versa. We started to use the drone for sanification application in Italy with a sprayer on board, but then we end up to use the drone for many applications with the local police there in Italy. And also now we are supporting activity with our partner, our customer, General Motors. They are using the drone for many application in their plants, but also the first testing between this transoceanic platform from Italy to Detroit and vice versa was a GM pilot operating the drone from Detroit in Italy to demonstrate this technology. In this video, you can see how this unit can fly in any confined space. We are in Michigan again, or this is the UK, where we're conducting an inspection in a very difficult place. We fly where there is really difficulties, where the human are not able to get in nuclear plants, for instance. So we have many applications in the United States in nuclears. In this case, you can see how the drone is flying through a very difficult scenario that you don't want to have any human there because maybe radiation, and so you can fly the unit directly in that sense. Besides that, I would add, and then I can pass the floor directly to William to our panel discussion, that this technology, drone, coupled with the emerging artificial intelligence technologies, is helping us to discover and to open a new world of the infrastructure, critical infrastructure inspections, because at the end of the day, your technology can make the job of inspecting any material, identify any defects in a very precise way, and avoiding that these take a long time from a human doing that. In this video, for instance, we are expecting any kind of activity. The drone is used by Gago goggles and a radio transmitter, so you don't see the drone. As you can see, the drone's flying outside, so it's very, very, very out. In this case, we use the drone inside, in the sewage, in the chimney, and particularly in the automotive market to use inside the stamping plants, crane rail inspections, to check bolts, nuts, all the stuff that could be critical without having any needs of scaffolding. In this case, you are seeing our Skypersonic office inside Torino. This is the mayor of Torino cutting the rib with the CEO of Leonardo company and our manager there. So this was inaugurated this year, and we have a strong relation with the Polytechnic of Torino, which we also, I'm happy that we have another guest that talking about that. And you are seeing a drone flying in this moment in Torino, and this is operated directly by Detroit. So this unit that is flying right now in this moment, you can see, was operated at that time from this pilot. This guy is a GM operator from our premise in Detroit. So he's able to see in real time the unit flying, and this is our premise in Torino, and you can see how it's possible to conduct any inspection from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world. With this technology we created, and we are sharing with the Leonardo technology. That's something interesting to see. The last video we're going to see just in a minute is an application of artificial intelligence applied to automotive market, in particular with General Motors, inside their plants. In this case, we're going to see just in a minute, you see here, the AI engine that we developed is able to identify the status of any bolts or any screws that needs to be attention. In this case, all the bolts are in status OK, so which is fine. The drone is flying inside the plant. This is our vision, camera vision from the drone, and it is able to check thousands of bolts at the same time very quickly. And then when something arises, something could be a potential defect, the drone is able to create an autonomous reporting and say, hey, you need to check these things. Besides just identifying any potential defects, AI is super useful because they can classify sub-assembly or more complex components that will become important or critical for some kind of inspection. So that is something very, very interesting to put on the floor to discuss today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giuseppe. We ended with Giuseppe because of this company. 5 years ago, I actually got to meet Giuseppe and a group of Wayne State students who were working on this project as a company. And it was back in the early days of the company. And now, actually, a couple of years ago, I got to see GM putting this into its plants and implementing it. And it's just amazing to see how the company progressed so quickly from kind of that private-public partnership.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're going to first start talking about right now today, is why is it important for the collaboration to happen between Italy and America? Not just at the business level, but also at the talent level. And I think your company really speaks to that and kind of progressing it.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to answer from my side that, and I'm glad that with Professor Nassano we're together since you're running a connection with the Polytechnic of Torino. We used to have talents from Italy working here in the United States and vice versa. My company, a few engineers that graduated at the Polytechnic of Torino or any other university in Italy, and we had some engineers, US engineers, that went there to support our team there. So having this collaboration is not touching only the companies-wise, but also the academic way. I teach at the Wayne State and also Lawrence Tech University, and it's very important to transmit to the students that the sentiment of collaboration between different cultures.
Simona, would you like to chime in on the importance of the collaboration between Italy and the US and just tying in with the students as well as the businesses?
Absolutely, yeah. So besides me being Italian, American Italian, and I always enjoy collaborating with Italian students, what Italian students bring to my lab is the passion for automotive, and it's really strong. So that really galvanized the whole group, and it's a huge plus. They also bring lots of, they have wonderful engineering background. They're very strong and solid technically, and so when they come here to tackle new challenges, they really, and they're very creative, they really bring this new way of thinking sometimes. So, and it's also good that when they go back to Italy, they can bring some of the things they've learned here, the experience here back there, and they can also influence the university there and their group. And from a business standpoint, I think there are so many opportunities that we should explore among the two countries and the universities. And again, what Giuseppe said about the culture is very important. And so fostering that, it's really key also in my lab.
Great. Saeed?
Yeah, I can add to that to my own experience where we do have a double master degree program between Auckland University and Politecnico in Torino. And the program in a nutshell requires students to spend 1 year at home, and the second year of the master will be abroad, both ways, between the US and Italy in Torino. And that program is also involving CRF, the Research Center of Fiat in Turin. So they sponsor those students coming here to spend their year 2. And the benefits to the students are many. To begin with, the cross-cultural interaction, but also academically, getting exposed to 2 systems of education, and also the multinational experience that the students get. For example, we coordinate between Stellantis or former FCA Italy and Auburn Hills. And the students navigate, they collaborate with what they call a tutor from each of the research centers, in addition to the supervision on campus for their research. Not only that, they do their master thesis research on closely related topics to automotive, the trendy topics like car electrification. I have a couple of students working on that, robotics and the human interaction with robots, additive manufacturing or advanced manufacturing, weighting and structures, advanced material, material joining, and what I call glues and screws, basically, and all kind of automotive-oriented research topics. That is, and I second you in your observation about the talent the Italian students bring, hands-on and passion. I can add my voice to that. I have 4 in my lab as we speak right now, and you can tell they are very handy and very experienced, and they have passion to succeed, basically, here.
Regarding passion, actually, for years we've been hearing about a skills gap in the automotive industry, and now we're facing a labor shortage. And obviously, you've got tech companies that the automakers are now are competing against for that talent. What needs to be done to attract better talent to the automotive industry? And what can organizations such as the Italian Trade Agency or the companies that it's connecting from Italy to the US do to help attract that talent that you guys are all working with right now to make sure that they stay in automotive or continued on that path?
I think what we need most is to encourage student participation in this program. And there is nothing that is challenge-free. There is always a challenge. For example, from the US side, it's very, excuse me, it's very challenging to convince a student to travel abroad for year 2 when they're looking for a job here, right? So we need participation from industry to encourage those so that they know the incentive. The job market is going to open.
Sponsorships or anything like that?
Sponsorship.
Or kind of a
internships.
An internship to kind of get them into the company.
We need more participation to create those opportunities. Stellantis, Italy is doing some of that, but we can use more participation from the automotive OEMs and the suppliers and things like that. It will encourage the participation.
Simona, Giuseppe, anything?
Maybe I would like to add that one of the biggest driver for a student, as Simona was saying before, is the patient. The student really need to touch, to understand, and then trying to attract them in the automotive market that is always changeable. Well, is evolving, right? We have to help them to understand how important it is to be dynamic in the mind, to embrace a new technology on the field, which is, we just talking about the AI or new technology. Once the automotive market is able to put in place this technology available for the students, for the new students, in particular in this collaboration, and now we are talking about Italy and the United States, I thank the Italian Trades Agency that is able to try to put together this connection, like the Polytechnic of Torino we're talking about. Then it's also even more interesting for the students, thinking, okay, I'm gonna live an experience outside Italy, for instance, in the United States, in one of the biggest expression of the automotive, Detroit, for instance, with the big trees and so forth. And the same from US students or US people to go in Italy and study that culture. So whatever can increase, fire up the passion of a student have to be done in the automotive market to take them on that.
Simona, anything to add at all?
I think, you know, some of the students who come to my lab, for example, and they're very, again, they've been all great, and they wish to keep working here, and sometimes they have problems to, you know, to apply for, you know, for a visa to stay here in a way that it's good for them. So they find sometimes problems with this type of bureaucratic issues. So and sometimes they just decide to go back because they don't see hope here, the opportunity to stay for a longer period of time. I think if there is a way to enhance that process, to allow them to see this as a real opportunity for them, that would be great, because they can really contribute and a lot to the field, I can tell. And I don't have experience, unfortunately, of students going back to Italy, American students going back to Italy, so I cannot speak about that. But I can tell that also my experience, I came here in US for a year just to, you know, be exposed to this, to what was going on here, and I, you know, got hooked. You know, I was very fascinated, and I decided to stay. And I was, you know, fortunate enough that I could stay. So I say that some students would love to stay, but you know, they have some troubles and problems to do that.
So maybe just a little bit more discussion with students about what the opportunities are, as well as kind of partnerships with agencies or companies to back the students a little bit more and let them know that they will have a job opportunity or something along the lines after they're in the programs.
I think that would be very useful to know. Yeah,
Okay.
to have, yeah.
And you mentioned about being in Italy. I went there and was lucky enough to tour the Ferrari factory there, which is absolutely just jaw-dropping beautiful. It is unlike any factory I've ever seen in the world. But then you also have a lot of powertrain facilities. Fiat Chrysler, now Stellantis, they were well known in Italy for their powertrains and that type of development. I'm wondering how that's changing now with the introduction of electric and autonomous vehicles. And I've obviously seen a lot of studies now from Italy that they're testing the autonomous vehicles there. Stellantis just recently announced a brand new test track for EVs, as well as a lot of development there. I'm just wondering, from your guys' standpoint, how do the EV and AVs change, and what is happening in Italy right now regarding those technologies?
Maybe I would start a little bit about what the sense of the technology, in particular in automotive technology in Italy and US, a little different. In Italy, we were crowded, so many cars, no parking. So and there is a very strong regulation to maintain the pollution, to maintain the safety. In the United States, it's more wide and more open, so this sense is a little less strong for the people as a sentiment. So the technology is going that direction. Driving a car for thousands of kilometers autonomously in a highway here maybe is easier than drive a car in a very crowded area in a city, right? But that's the direction, increasing the technology from I think the two key elements in this moment, the technology in the auto market, is the autonomous technology, which is related also to new and more powerful sensors, a cheaper sensor with a high software technology like AI technology, connected to the electric power also. So the batteries is getting better and better. We know because we produce drones, they gotta fly, and they need a very strong density battery with a low weight and safe. So, and we are noticing this technology is growing up very rapidly. So in the near future, we're gonna see triple times the battery endurance actually with these. And I think this is going on also, I believe, in the big threes, in GM, Ford, Stellantis. They're working on the batteries technologies to improve that and to reduce the pollution.
And now, Simone, I know you are an expert in this field regarding the EVs, and you've worked with the acid-based batteries, you've done lithium-ion, we've heard about solid-state coming. Would love to hear your insights on how this is kind of changing the auto industry and how it might change the relationships that we're seeing kind of between the Italy and US and the companies like that.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things, so Italy is a little bit behind when compared to US as far as electrification goes. And I'm talking about especially what it concerns the battery management system, how we control or we estimate the battery states and how we make the battery packs safe and reliable and performing over a long period of time. And those are very important aspects that we need to address to make EVs, to have more EVs on the road. And so what I feel is missing right now in Italy, especially from an education standpoint, is the opportunity for the students to learn about it in a very structured way, in a very systematic way that also will make them get their hands dirty with data and battery data, for example. So in that sense, I think Italy can, one way to collaborate, for example, is for us to partnership with them and educate them and provide like courses or summer courses or things of that sort that would help the Italian students to keep up and get up to date as far as battery technology, for example. And so the industry is going to change. And absolutely, and so industry needs more battery system engineers. So I think that is a big shortage we have, both in US and Italy. And so the education plays an important role to educate them, to create that new class of engineers that is going to go and work in the electrification field in the next future, actually now in the next future. So that's one aspect. Another aspect that we are also seeing here is that the revolution in electrification, the transportation is happening at the same time. Also, the power sector is entering a new era. Okay, so smart grids and everything that is related to microgrids and trying to have more renewable in our grid. So decarbonizing the grid is a very important topic that goes along with electrification transportation. I think Italy can also start learning from us. We are working on that and trying to really fill up the gap in that space as well. And again, we need the people, we need engineers, students who learn about those topics and they're ready to start contributing in that space. Again, from an education standpoint, as a professor, I think we have the responsibility also to provide that type of knowledge and skills and opportunity for the students. And collaborating with Italian university might help to accelerate that type of dynamics.
Said, anything to add?
I might add something also about some trendy aspects in the automotive, which is vehicle mobility and the connectivity. So one of those students participating in the double master's degree just finished this summer her thesis research on that topic in terms of traffic congestion and navigation and the autonomous and the local positioning system, how it communicates with the global positioning system and all these things. So this is a trendy area that is in demand towards autonomous vehicles and also towards electrification as well.
I'm glad you brought up the connectivity as well as the autonomous vehicles. We touched on it earlier, but I'm sitting here watching a video of a demonstration of a bus actually driving itself, and it looks like with a lot of radar sensors. And we've heard about smart cities and essentially the internet connecting to everything, OTA updates for the vehicles. I'm just kind of wondering where you've each worked with different automakers and you've consulted with them, you've done research papers. Where do you see the industry going with the connected cities and the AVs? It hasn't come as quickly as many thought it would even a few years back. And we've also seen a consolidation in the industry and many, such as Uber, abandon it. I'm just wondering how quickly you think that we can get autonomous vehicles on the streets of Italy, which, as you mentioned, has a little bit more of a different challenges than the US, depending on where you're at, and as well as in the US, we're seeing Google and Waymo have a few things, but just little niche things. I'm wondering, when do you actually think we're gonna see a mainstream proliferation of these technologies?
For my point of view, the most difficult moment is the transition phase, because it's easy to figure out an infrastructure able to support autonomous vehicle technology without any human driving around. So they're smarter than us sometimes because the artificial intelligence can follow just some direction. The most difficult moment now is in transition phase, where we have normal vehicle and autonomous vehicle working together in the same environment. From a safety perspective, from a decision-making in the control and hierarchy control of the autonomous vehicle and also beyond higher, what kind of decision I gotta take in some very difficult situation, because it's not the normal stuff, but when there is a big difficulty, who take the decision? So comes to be a problem of liabilities. Who's gonna take this liability to start first? That is the transition I see as an obstacle. Once this process is gonna start, it's gonna keep going. I want to add just a small things about before what Simona was talking about the battery technology. There is something missing, a small piece missing here, that is the circular economy in engineering. So we're thinking just as a small piece of the loop of the cycle. We have to consider the full cycle from the development, the production of the batteries to the wasting and the recycling that. How we can work to have a better world, a better cycle in the future, because that is the problem. How to dispose, how to handle all this technology to be completely reused. So a circular economy engineering would be maybe a new course to develop that will help to see the things as a whole, not just a small piece.
Actually, I might add something here to the circular economy here. We're focusing on the technology and all these things, but with the connectivity on the internet, the issue of cybersecurity of all these things, in my view, I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm gearhead. So it's not, I see the cyber challenge to be a damper in all of this progress in terms of how aggressive the technology can penetrate and advance, because every step of the way, you have to ensure that it is secure, cyber secure. It's not open to hacking and taking over from a cave around halfway around the world. And in my view, that is really a challenge.
Simona?
Yeah, so I'm not involved in any research related to autonomous vehicle by choice. There are many challenges there. What Giuseppe said about liability is the main one. But what I've seen, from research papers, published, they all work on small, toy problems. Sometimes a little bit bigger, but the problem is scaling up to, real life problems, real life scenarios and situations. And so there is a lot of AI involved into this, and so I think one of the problems that is hindering the transition to this new smart city is also understanding the limitations of AI and make sure that if we apply it, we have to account for all possible situations and scenarios and all of that, and it's a very complex problem. Mathematically, technologically, and from a human standpoint as well. So I don't know the answer to your question, Michael. I don't know when this is going to happen, but there are many people working on it, and so probably in the near future. But we have to start from some real world scenario demonstrated there, and then go from there and understand how we can scale it up to bigger cities and all of that.
Thank you for actually addressing the question, because I was going to come back to it as a reporter. I was going to ask each of one to give a guess, but it sounds like overall it's a great technology emerging. It could have a lot of benefits, but right now there's just too many challenges facing it to really proliferate outside of very small controlled circles. And excuse me, Giuseppe, you mentioned infrastructure. We've been hearing a lot about infrastructure here in the U.S. all year with the Biden administration and the trillions they want to spend on infrastructure. A small amount of that is supposed to be for the automotive industry. I'm just wondering, the infrastructure development, how you see that playing into the future of a lot of this that we're talking about with the EVs and AVs, and to kind of come back to the partnerships, how important a private-public partnership is for something like EV development infrastructure for EVs and AVs is when it comes to your business or your schools and your students, and kind of tying that all together.
One element we have to take in consideration, our world is filling of data moving around, and the infrastructure from data transmission is growing up. We are able to perform this fly in real time thanks to some kind of technology that allow us to transfer data, a lot of data in a very short time around the ocean. But the other elements are very important, that the infrastructure has to become intelligence. We'd have some sensor embedded in, with some way to build them in a way that is easy to maintenance and continues to develop that start without thinking that for 30 years there's something bad that we have to rebuild completely the structure. So it's a combination, in my opinion, between technology, sensoring technology, and data transfer embedded in the infrastructure when you build it from the beginning. So you can monitor and check what is going in a kind of a standard routine cadence. The drones, for instance, can help because they can go in a very close area of infrastructure, critical infrastructure, without any human, without stopping the traffic. Just have the drone fly inside a small cave or a bridge, for instance. They check if the bridge is still in a good shape, metal, steel, or concrete bridges. Just one of example.
And I'm glad you mentioned the data aspect of it, because honestly, many in the automotive industry and obviously in the tech sector, everyone considers it more valuable than gold or even Bitcoin. I'm wondering, how much data are you three working with on a daily basis? And where is it coming from? How important is it? And do you just see it continuing to grow in importance as we enter EVs, AVs, and really try to get these types of vehicles on the road? Someone, do you want to start off at all?
Yeah. So I don't work with too many data as of now. In my lab, we are collecting data, but I wouldn't say that it's a huge data set that we can use to develop any AI. And it's not the minimum in my lab to generate all this data. So the approach we take in our problem is to really use the physics and build from there. And everything like modeling, control strategies, optimization solutions, and all of that. Now, those approaches have limitations. We understand that. We are aware of that. And so what we do, we partner with automotive companies, and we just started 2 projects here with companies in the Bay Area. And they are going to provide field data, so data from vehicles, electric vehicles that are basically driving on the road every day. And so in our case, data come from them, and we are trying to parse them out and sort them out, understand what information we can gather from that to complement what we know about the physics of the energy storage system and things of that sort. So that's what we do in my lab.
Saeed, I believe you mentioned data before we got on the stage today. How much are you using it? How important do you see it coming in the future?
Right now, I'm not in my lab, in my group, we're not yet using big data, but there is a project that we are considering to start as part of this NSF center. That project is to use machine learning, hybrid machine learning, to optimize, to create an AI-based design optimization process. For example, we can have thousands of numerical computer runs of different variations of the design, how they perform, and all these things. Have that in a database, then survey the literature for whatever is available, have another set. Then new research adds to that. Then we have a hybrid AI database that is used to create an optimum design, whether it is the optimum structure, optimum weight, the optimal proportion.
A lot of suppliers are working. Working on that right now. Yeah, just less physical demand, less actual money, and more virtual learning for the companies.
That's true. And as I said, we want to implement the AI into the design optimization field as it applies to vehicles.
And now, Giuseppe, when we talk about AI, I'm thinking autonomous drones. AI is a very broad subject, but I remember when we were speaking 5 years ago, we were talking about autonomous drones, and I believe GM uses them to actually survey the security or survey land, and they're on a flight pattern that is obviously a camera-based, but I'm assuming that data could play into that, and data plays in yours right now, Giuseppe.
Yes, AI now is becoming, I would say, the term cool, because when you talk about AI, everybody starts to pay attention. Actually, I did my master thesis on artificial intelligence. At that time, I was training 30 neurons. I used an IBM RISC for a few weeks to train 30 neurons. At that time, was useless. At the end of the day, you cannot train a neural network. So the neural network concept started many years ago in the 50s. Now it's actual, because we can have a neural network with 1 million of neurons. How that works? You need to train the network, which means very similar to the human. The neural network, they have eyes, the camera, so that's big data come from, because you gotta train them by providing to the network in a certain cycle they call epochs to train the networks. Many epochs, like 200, 300 epochs is the right number for training a good network. A good network could be a network with about a couple of million parameters. That parameter have to go with a few 100,000 of images to be cycled with training the network to understand what you gotta do. So you have to condense what a human being have to do in few years, in few weeks, with a big cluster data that is going to train continuously. And then the network learn how to identify or classify stuff. So in my opinion, this is the right time. This is, I would be super excited if I graduated today at the university, because I have all the resources available, and the good thing is for free. Because you can open a network for neural network, train that without any cost as a student. So it's super easy. We pay a lot for neural network training because we pay our server holding. So we don't pay for the TensorFlow, whatever, but we pay for that. And we operate for every inspection about 60 giga for each inspection. So this is the number of data for taking into account how many inspections you can have around on the world, and then you can calculate how many big data are transferring in real time. And this is going to grow, for sure.
Now, I'd be remiss to kind of not talk about this topic as we're at Mobil-Italy right now, and it's the first major media and consumer auto event since 2 years ago from the Detroit Auto Show because of the coronavirus pandemic. I'm wondering how the coronavirus pandemic changed or altered what you three do with your connections with Italy and the US, and what learnings you've taken away from the past year and a half, 2 years, because obviously it kind of hit Italy before coming here, and just any thoughts on what you've learned or how it impacted what you do.
Well, I have personal experience with that. Beyond the obvious, which is going virtual, like my little granddaughter, who is 7-year-old, knows virtual now. And
it's tough. I've got a 5-year-old.
No, beyond all of these, common day used in COVID time. The exchange program with Italy, obviously, it couldn't be implemented, but we and my counterpart in Italy decided to bite the bullet and still keep going. So we went remote. So instead of the students coming from Italy here for their year 2 to do the thesis and research, 3 of them had to stay there, and likewise my student who was going there has to do it from here and take classes at Politecnico in Torino. That was challenging in a big way and a little way. The big way is you can't do remote research very effectively. You need to be close to the advisor on a regular basis, interacting, although we'd had a lot of Google meetings and updates, but it's not like, hopping or poking into each other's office every 5 minutes if we need to. So that is a challenge I faced. The little things are the time difference, and that is around the world, right? If you're gonna lecture or take a class at another university with the time difference, my lunchtime here could be 8 p.m. somewhere else, or 10
Or
p.m.
Simona's breakfast.
Or, yeah, we have a taste of that in California, obviously. But I recently had to teach John Deere in India, and we had to break the one day into two halves. And even the one half, they ended up finishing it at 9 p.m. local time. That's a challenge in COVID time. So it's not, it is suitable for the neighborhood and the area and the minor time difference, but around the world, it's a big challenge.
Simona, Giuseppe, any thoughts or learnings kind of the past year and a half?
So I share the same sentiment of Saeed, and I had the same experience. I could not have a couple of students here because of the COVID. And so we couldn't, the ability to brainstorm over coffee and just have a chat and come up with new ideas, that was just not happening. And so this remote collaboration is really not quite effective, unfortunately. It was not quite effective. It happened, we did some work, but it would have been much better to have this person, for example, here. And also traveling back to Italy, visiting my colleagues at universities, was something that I used to do it, and then during these past 2 years, I couldn't do it. So that was also hindered some of the collaborations and networking and new things that could have happened from there. So I really hope we go back to normal 100%. And so, also having students in my lab, and so that they can get experience with the hardware, with the data collection, and see how they can use those data for their modeling work, and then go back to Italy and again bring that experience with them. That was also a missing portion of the educational and research component.
Giuseppe, any,
on a positive note, before I forget. We broke that already. I received a batch of 3 students in person arriving from Italy 2 weeks ago.
Oh, great.
So as we speak, after this panel discussion, I have a meeting with one of them, update meeting with one of them. So.
No, I just want to add that for our company, I think when we face a global problem, the human being trying to adapt and to evolve, and we did, all of us, we experienced the same things. Now we are using a lot Zoom or Meet or whatever. We learn how to be more efficient, and now we're keeping that. We're not changing. For us was a gaining our team. Our team is in Italy, in the United States, in other countries, and we can meet all together now because we tell, why are we going to do this regular basis? We had a kind of a bad experience at the beginning because we have a couple of engineers from Italy. They couldn't go back in Italy. You have to stock in their small apartment working there. They used to work a lot. So we had some, but now I think it's beneficial for us. The experience is we're keeping using this virtual meetings when it's possible.
And you mentioned actually having students come back. Just the last thing before we have to wrap up. Just each of you, what would you pitch to a student or an engineer or someone who might be wanting to work in the automotive industry as they're coming up, whether it be Italy or the US, or to participate in one of your programs? What would be your quick pitch to them on why they should participate and kind of do the Italy-US connection?
If you want me to start, the Italian students that come here are spoken for already.
For the businesses, for jobs?
Because they win Stellantis scholarship to come here, spending scholarship, to come here and finish their thesis on a topic of interest to Stellantis CRF in Torino. So the 3 that I have now, one is on advanced manufacturing, one is on electrification, and one is on material joining in my lab. So what I'm saying is, because Stellantis is multinational anyway, we're talking about US, Italy, and France, right? So they are on a solid footing with this experience.
Guaranteed
they can
job.
Transfer from Italy to here or vice versa, or to France. So that's a bonus.
And a guaranteed job. That's, I think, number one. For
and 2 master degrees in the same time.
Simona?
Yeah, what I would like to say to them is that if you have a great passion for automotive control in the area of electrification, just reach out to me. I don't have an established program with any of the university in Italy, but I work with them with single PI in Italy. But if there is some students now in the audience who feel that really wants to make, has the passion and the energy to work in this sector, in this research, they should reach out to me.
Thank you. And Giuseppe, once again, you're kind of bringing us home.
Yeah, what my pitch would be to any student, go out from your comfort zone and explore new technology. And coming in the United States from Italy or going in Italy from the United States is the best way to challenge yourself, because at the student level, you got to challenge yourself to grow. And I do have one student coming from Italy, a Polytechnic student here, and I will reach out the professor now to try to find the second year here instead to come back in Torino. So I'm taking advantage already of you here as to the internship we have now from Polytechnic Torino in US to keep going this direction.
Well, thank you to all the panelists, everyone here at Motor-Bella, and a special thanks to the Italian Trade Agency. For anyone in the audience or watching online who might want to do business from Italy to the US or US to Italy, please reach out to them. But everyone else, thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.